Yo guys, what is up? It's Teach here, coming at you again with another video over on Ark Survival Ascended, and I'm going to show you the 10 most underused dinos that are actually incredibly useful. Now, all 10 of these dinos are things that people either, one, they don't like to tame, two, they don't want to tame them, or three, they just forget about that they even exist, right? So all 10 of them are incredibly valuable, and they can really be used in almost any tribe, no matter how big or small your tribe is. So let's go ahead and get started with this. But before we do, if you don't mind, smash that like button, leave a comment below for the algorithm, and then consider subbing to the channel. I'm super close to 100K, and that's been my dream all along. All right, so anyways, coming in at number 10 on our list, the 10 most useful dino that isn't actually used at all is the Megalania. If you didn't know this, the Megalania is probably one of the most powerful dinos in the game. It's just people forget to use them because they're a little slow and they aren't very useful for when it comes to PvP. However, they actually are. So, a couple of facts about the Megalania, right? So one, it's got a bite attack, and that bite attack, if you actually hit something with it, will give a dinosaur mega rabies. Now that mega rabies will kill the dino unless a thing of lesser antidote or a player of lesser antidote will get applied to it. And basically it's just going to allow you to get access to, how do I say this? What was that? Why'd you do that? Thank you. But anyways, unless you apply a lesser antidote or you drop a body inside of somebody's base, a Megalania can actually be used as chemical warfare inside of Ark. It's kind of funny, actually. It's one of those things that you don't think about very commonly, but it is very, very useful to have access to something like that. They can also climb straight up walls, which is very useful, obviously, when you're wanting to climb up things. So you can go ahead and use their secondary attack, and they can climb up walls on anything. They can climb upside down on ceilings. As long as they have stamina, these things are incredibly talented climbers, and it gives you access, especially early game, to things that you would not think you would have access to. They are actually shockingly good at cave runs too, because of their ability to climb to the ceilings. They can largely avoid anything dangerous inside of the game. Megalania are really, really useful for a lot of reasons, and people just need to use them more. Give them a little bit of love, right? So next on my list, okay, I thought it was going to drop a little bit further apart, but you know what, whatever. The Otter. Now, the Otter is probably one of the cutest dinos in the entire game because it sits up on your shoulder and it does like the whole cute little, oh, I love you thing, right? However, it's actually incredibly useful. So in Otter, two things that they're really good at. One, they are actually incredible at providing you a large amount of hypothermic insulation. So basically they're going to make it so your cold resistance, you will never ever die to the cold with one of these on your shoulders. So notice how I've got 74 cold resist right now and 112 heat resist. As soon as I pick up my Otter, you're going to notice it goes up to 289 and 207. So these guys are going to give a huge boost into your ability to prevent getting overheated or overcooled inside of Ark. Now that's a huge thing, especially endgame when you've got a lot of good armor. Maybe you've got good flak in PvP and you don't want to lose a whole bunch of health running around. These guys are going to save your life when it comes to that. Now, not only are they good for that, but they're also good for actual water usage because one, they don't have a water meter. And if you throw them at a fish, if you double tap F and throw them at a fish, they will actually harvest the fish and give you silica pearls or occasionally black pearls. So otters are incredibly useful, and again, they're just a team that sits on your shoulder, and it's just something that is very, very nice to have access to. So we're going to go ahead and say goodbye to the Otter. And next on our list, number 7 is the Dodo. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, what are you even talking about, Teach? Because it's one of the dinos that you can get first off in the game. Stupid easy. You can use your fists to knock one out. However, it's not the Dodo itself that makes the Dodo valuable. It's the fact that their eggs are incredibly useful. A Dodo egg, because with a male nearby and 4 dodos, I guess 4 female dodos, they can produce twice as many eggs as any other tame in the entire game. And not only that, but those eggs can be used for 2 different things. One, kibble. Simple kibble will give your dinosaurs more food than raw meat. One simple kibble produces 100 food, whereas 1 raw meat makes 40. It also weighs less, so larger tribes endgame are using simple kibble in order to raise their dinos. Now, the next reason is because you can use Dodo eggs in order to make custom recipes, and those custom recipes can give you hundreds of bonus health if you add just one Dodo egg to your custom recipe. Now, this is the quickest review because really the end game thing is you want to use Dodos in order to have access to end game for raising and for custom recipes. Now, this one is largely forgotten. I regularly forget these guys exist. Number 7 on our list is the Tapajara, or the Tapajara, whatever you want to call it, right? It is one of the most interesting birds in Ark because it was the first one with the ability to fly backwards, left, right, forwards, and it can do all of those things. So why is it that I'm saying that it's incredibly powerful? Basically, it has the same fly speed as a Pteranodon and the same hitbox and around the same stats. However, it gets a little bit more health in the long run than a Pteranodon will have access to. But you can actually see why it's the most powerful, because you can see that I am currently using a tech saddle. So a Tapajara will have access to a tech saddle, and that's a late game thing, obviously, but it's incredibly powerful for one PvP, right? Because if you can get access to someone, and yes, Rexes are better for the long-term PvP, but a tech saddle Tapajara will be incredibly powerful for your tribe, because you can literally just kind of curve around corners and get into smaller, tighter spaces and actually use this special ability to destroy someone's base. Now, also, they are, in my opinion, I prefer them exponentially to a Pteranodon because their stats seem to be much better. They look way cooler because of their wider wings, and they come in much neater colors, so I like them a lot more personally. If I had a choice between a Tapajara and a Pteranodon, I'm 100% choosing the Tapajara, but that's my personal opinion. So that's why they are number 7 on our list. Now, number 6, this one is another one that people forget about all the time because everyone says Rex, 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 and they forget how powerful the Spino actually is. So, 1. Spinos can go inside of water without any oxygen meter. That is a concern. So yes, they do have an oxygen meter, but look at that. They have 3,500 oxygen. So you could spend forever under the water and not have any concern with a Spino. And it's not even something you should concern yourself with. And while they're under the water, the Spino gets a massive boost when it comes to their ability to actually be a just amazing dino. So you can actually use a special ability for this guy. You can use right click and it'll allow them to go on their back legs. And with a water boost, they essentially get bonus speed, bonus healing, and everything across those lines. So you'll actually get a much faster overall dino, which is obviously kind of cool. So you can see that this guy will absolutely smoke a Rex in a race. And even an Ankylosaurus, it's going to outrun that thing no problem. You can see that Rex over there is just like, oh, I'm pissed off at you, but what's he going to do? He can't catch me. By the time he's even thought about you, you're well gone. So incredibly fast. They gathered at just about the exact same rate. And because they can get their hind legs right there, you can see this is just a base level. And with a water boost, they do a ridiculous amount of damage. And this is an unleveled, let's see here, right? So we've got a very good saddle here, and we've got a couple of dinos. And yeah, so basically you can do 2 attacks with this guy, whereas the Rex only has 1. If I wanted to drop down into like the bite mode, you can see that I can attack a lot faster. But the benefit again is that that water buff that makes the Spino so broken. So you can pretty much run anywhere with this guy and outrun just about anything inside of the game. There is nothing that can keep up with him. Overall, when it comes to large predators, the Spino is probably my favorite because yes, it is fast and I like speed. All right, so next on our list, even though the Spino is really nice, there is another large Carno that people forget about all the time, and they shouldn't. People do not give enough love to the Carnotaurus. After the update, the Carnotaurus actually has some pretty mean stats. So it's got 1 a bite, and it's got a headbutt. Now the cool thing about the headbutt, as you can see it on that Dilo, is it's going to apply stacks of bleed, and that stack of bleed will absolutely shred just about anything in the entire game. Now they are also really fast and have a very nice stamina pool. But the important thing about the bleed is see how it slows everything down and knocks it back. If you're smart with how you can play this, you can literally apply a bleed to any creature with any health in the game and never let him hit you because you're just going to back up. So for PvP, these things are ridiculously powerful because that bleed bypasses any saddle, and it's really useful. Now the negative thing is they got rid of the ability to use bleed on side of bosses, so that kind of sucks. But for the most part, the Carno is actually a really useful dino. because if something has 100k health, bleed does the bonus damage to it, and that's a huge advantage. Now that is a obvious, I mean, it's a useful thing, and you can see that the slow that gets applied with bleed is pretty nice as well, whereas some other dinos, even though they say they have bleed, they don't actually have it. So yeah, kind of useful. Carno is largely forgotten, pretty quick, and it's again a very useful dino to have. It's got a large stamina pool, and for like medium dinos, it's really good at caving, insanely good at running caves. So I encourage you to try it out for sure, because it's one of the more powerful dinos when it comes to actual caving. So yep, this guy comes in at the next on our tier list. So next on our list is another dino that people almost always forget about, and I have no idea why, because this dino is one of the most powerful things, and you can be level 1 and tame it. Let me introduce you to the Akuse, or the horse, whatever you want to call it. Akuse, I don't know. But the reason that this thing is so powerful, again, it's got a few special functions. When you are able to put a saddle on it, that saddle is going to give you the ability to have, I think it's a smithy or whatever it is on it, but the saddle's not the important part. The important part is you can knock out literally anything in the game using the horse's kick. I used to knock out wyverns on Ragnarok, and I would basically aggro them into a trap, and then you literally hind kick and it knocks about anything out with, I mean, there's one kick and it's dead. Whoops. But you can knock literally anything out in like 2 or 3 kicks if you have a high level one with good. And let's see if we see it right there. Both of those things just got knocked unconscious just because that hind kick, incredibly useful for that reason. Now early game, they're incredibly fast, have a nice stamina pool, gather berries pretty freaking well, and their jump makes them one of the fastest creatures in the game, because you can basically stack jumps, and if you're going down a hill, you can stack them like I am right now and just keep flying down hills at a really nice rate, which is not too shabby. But again, that kick is what we're really looking for, because especially in PvP, I believe they bypass flak, so you can knock people out almost instantaneously with a horse. Now again, their low health pool makes them a little less usable in PvP, but a good horse with a high melee damage, like I said, can knock out wyverns without much of a problem. I used to kick wyverns, we'd run into the trap and kick like 6 or 7 times, and it'll knock out one without much of a problem. So Akuse, next on our list, very powerful, great early game tame as well. Less so good at late game, but very powerful. And another one of those ones that you can tame at any point in the game, as long as you have the resources, is the Mosschops. Now, the Mosschops is one of those tames that is very weird, because it can harvest just about anything in the entire game, and it harvests things really well. However, its low weight is kind of what holds it back, but it's not a bad tame by any means. Because it has a primary and secondary attack, as well as a tertiary attack with C, you can actually gather a bunch of ridiculously easy to get resources, right? I can get wood, fiber, you can see thatch, berries. This is all on 1x, by the way. And this thing is really good at gathering just about anything. Now, that's not even what makes the Mosschops so special. What makes it special is its special radial hidden wheel. You can see you have harvesting levels, right? And you can actually put levels inside of these bonus things to gather additional sap, organic polymer, leech blood, rare mushrooms, rare flowers, prime meat, and raw fish prime meat. Now, it doesn't seem like much, but especially on games or servers where you need access to prime meat quickly, if you kill something and bring over this guy and you have a prime meat leveled one, you're getting a ridiculous amount of prime meat per bite. And again, just the fact that early game this guy can harvest just about anything. Now, it's not the best at harvesting anything, but it will gather just about everything that you need early game. Like, I'm not even kidding, right? So I'm just walking around doing some basic stuff. Now, you can gather really nice resources with this thing. And again, with those special customized ones, once you get Aberration open, you can get a Carcanos and get a few thousand organic polymer per Carcanos. Same thing with Mantis once they inevitably get added in for Scorched Earth. This guy is a very powerful creature, more so on other maps than the island, but overall a great creature. So definitely give it a check out if you haven't done so already. Now, number 2 on our list, this one is something that people forget about, and I do not know why. The Gigantopithecus. One, other than being incredibly fast, jumping really well, and overall being a fun tame to have access to, this thing has some cool abilities. One, it can launch you in the air and send you flying without taking any fall damage. It's just a lot of fun. You can see it right there. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to him, and you can get quite a bit of a distance throw on him, which is pretty cool. Now, again, that's one thing. Second thing is he's got the ability to also harvest things at a crazy rate. You can take this thing inside of caves, and it's a very good caving dinosaur. And you can use it just like I am right now to gather such an insane amount of both berries and fiber that you will never need to go on another run again. So inside of caves specifically, they have increased gathering rates and gathering efficiencies. So if you take one of these guys and just run down Swamp Cave, you can slot cap yourself on fiber and berries in less than 5 minutes. Not even close. It's insane. So the cool thing is both of their attacks are also usable while running, which is one of the biggest reasons why I like them. So if you find an area with a ton of berries, you can literally just do what I'm doing right now and keep running, and they just gather at a very, very nice rate. This is completely unleveled, so I don't have any bonus, but they gather insanely fast. Like, look at this right there. Just again, more resources. That's all we're asking for, especially early game when you have access to this. You can just go out and tame these guys like there's no problem because they don't require a saddle, and you can place any sort of helmet on them. So you can get a flak helmet on them. You can get a riot helmet, whatever you want. They're incredibly useful, especially early game, because they can fight just about any dino, wild dino inside of Ark. Obviously not a Giganotosaurus, but look at that right there, right? Insanely good at gathering berries, thatch, fiber, everything that you need early game. Super nice, super easy. And again, they've got a pretty good overall stat pool. Their health's a little bit low, but everything else, that stamina, weight, and then melee damage is really strong on these things. So it's a fantastic early and mid-game tame, and then if you use them in caves and you're cautious about it, these things are one of the best end-game tames in the game for gathering resources, just like you can see me gather all that stuff in my inventory now. So, and then last on our list, and the reason that this is last on our list is because it is actually a shoulder mount. A shoulder mount is something that people never use inside of this game, and I don't know why. Meet the Archaeopteryx, or whatever you want to call it, Archaeopteryx, right? So you can see that I have this thing on my shoulder. Now, the crazy thing about this, and people for some reason forget about it, is you can use this guy basically like holding on to it, and then you can run and jump and allow yourself to essentially fly inside of Ark. Now, the reason that this is useful is you can use this on top of your birds. You can go ahead and go in my inventory, and let's say I want a hatchet, right? If I go into a hatchet, this is kind of like one of the things that's a little bit interesting about it. But you'll notice that I can't actually access any of my stuff. That's the only negative. I just wanted to show you that about that. But the Archaeopteryx will let you coast and fly. Now, this is fantastic, especially if you're playing on PvP servers where you can get picked off of your tame and all of a sudden you're still just flying. And also, if you haven't seen my video on how this thing allows you to fly forever, you can literally use any flyer, hop off with this guy, and then just whistle follow on your flyer. They'll regain stamina back. You land back on the flyer, and then you keep on flying. So people never tame these because for some reason they're under the impression that these things are kind of hard to tame. However, they're incredibly easy and very intuitive to use. You can hit R in order to drop, and then it'll just bring you back to the ground safely, or you can just keep coasting forever. Now, the cool thing is you're basically going to be able to cross anything because the amount or the rate at which they go down is insanely low. So you won't ever have to deal with touching the water if you want to cross a river, for example. You can pretty much fly everywhere. It's just a super useful tame and something that no one ever tames. They're really, really nice to have access to because in the weird situations that you need them, they are nice. Now, let me tell you about one of those weird situations, right? These guys are actually incredibly useful for running the cave, the Alpha Cave. Now, that's one of those things that, I mean, if you don't know what that is, the Alpha Ascension Cave, you can essentially bypass every single dinosaur in the cave just by using one of these guys and using the R command appropriately, which gives you a huge advantage. So hopefully that's something that helps you out. Now, again, all of these creatures are something that are nice to use, and hopefully they do help you. And yeah, let me know if you think there's something that I'm missing on this list. I've done my best to make it so it's creatures that are overpowered and underused. It's not just things that are useless. So yeah, that's kind of been the goal. So hopefully this video helps you out. And other than that, teach.